Greetings and salutations. This is the 90-Degree Director Series for 2014 featuring Dr. Kevin O. Davenport, hosted by the Marching Podcast and sponsored by BlockBand Music and Publishing. And now, without further ado, 2014 Directors Podcast Series, you may now take the field.
Good evening. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Welcome to the 2014 Director Series 90 Degree Show Director Series Podcast with the great Dr. Kevin O. Davenport, hosted by BlockBand Music and themarchingpodcast.com. I am your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is August 10th, 2014. 5 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live and or listening in podcast form, whether through Blog Talk Radio, our website, Facebook, Twitter, or through iTunes or any other social media that you may be using at this time. At the end of the broadcast, if you decide you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Just simply go to themarchingpodcast.com, click on the donate button to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund. That song does not get old to me, y'all. That is the great Alabama A&M this year praying a Pretty Girls rendition, one of my favorites. But I won't get too much into that. I will bring in our outstanding expert, Dr. Kevin O. Davenport. What's going on tonight, sir?
Nothing much. It's good to be here one more time. Good to share this fellowship.
I really appreciate you as well. Again, this is the top of all time listens for the Marching Podcast Network. This podcast, however you want to flip it and bounce it, we have the most listens here than any other podcast series, and it's pretty close too. We've had actually a lot of and I want to say this live tonight, a lot more of the listens that we get more about high school development, high school shows, the Warren County band competition out there with Taylor Whitehead, more things when we cater towards high school, we hear more, we get more feedback from. So it's definitely something to think about. We appreciate all those out there listening live and in podcast form, and we will definitely be catering to all of those high school people out there listening. So we are much appreciative of that. And we also have the founder and owner of BlockBand Music and Publishing, Mr. Rashad Waters. What's going on tonight, man?
What's happening, guys? What happened?
Doing all right, man.
I see he's happy over there.
About to say, man, I was about to add in the bait.
He said I was laying out too much. He said I need to talk up more. During our meetings and stuff. So I'm here. I'm ready to rock.
Well, hey, man, we appreciate having you as well. We appreciate all those listening. Again, this is the 2014 Director Series for the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio and BlockBand Music and Publishing. Outstanding. This is our first event, our first podcast, and it's been an extreme success. We appreciate everyone who's made it that way. Make sure to check out our website, themarchingpodcast.com. Make sure to check out BlockBand Music and Publishing at blockbandmusic.com. And before we get to any other business, I have to let you guys know that in the mail this week, I received a copy of an outstanding book that I would like Rashad to let the listeners know how they can obtain a copy. But it was outstanding. All I did was got on the internet, the fabulous internet, and went on to Gmail and hollered at BlockBand Music at, BlockBand Music at gmail.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I got on there and emailed them, and I said, yo, Dr. Davenport is, I said he's an outstanding professional. I'll clean it up there. And I said, you know what, let me go ahead and let me get a copy of that book. And I did so and had the outstanding autograph of himself with the book. Outstanding. Tweeted the photo, put it on Facebook, and it's one of the photos that you will see in the slideshow that we're seeing tonight. But you too can do this. So, Rashad, I would like just to let the listeners know how they can obtain this, because it's very, very important and an outstanding book. I've already started getting into it.
Well, and we've had a lot of people that are interested in that book, and I'm very, very excited about that. The name of the book being Practical Concepts for, I think I'm messing it up, Dr. Davenport. Practical Techniques for Building the High School Marching Band. Did I get it right?
You got it right.
It is a fantastic book. It is a short read, so it's not one of those things that you're going to pick up at the beginning of the semester and say, wow, this is a great book, I can't wait to finish it. And throughout the years, you're never going to have time to look at it. I think Dr. Davenport is really to the point on some things and gives you, really enough to just really get your own creative juices going. And we've had band directors from all over the country to contact us at blockbandmusic@gmail.com or to text me personally at 919-698-2560. Again, that's 919-698-2560. To text me personally and say, how can we obtain this book? With the book, you can obtain it for just $25 plus the cost of shipping, okay? And with that book, or with that order, when you get it from us, you not only get the book, but you also get Dr. Davenport, which I think is the main reason people have been getting it from us, because there's cheaper places to get it, but there's not a better place that you can get Dr. Davenport, where not only can you learn about the information, but you can call Dr. Davenport. Dr. Davenport, I've had a couple band directors, to ask me, well, what do you think about this? Or, what do you think about this from the book? And I say, well, you bought the book. Why don't you call them?
Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah, I can do that, can't I? And I think that everybody who has done that has really grown as a director.
And let me say that I wrote the book from the standpoint of not wanting to tell people how to run their band programs. It's more of a have you considered kind of idea. We all have to form programs around our own philosophy and vision. But I just wanted to put topics out there and put information out there that would help people form their own program. So it's not you need to do such and such. It's more of a have you considered. You go about this way to get things done. And that's what I wanted to do, is just try to put some enlightenment out there in some areas that we don't normally get a chance to think about. And by the way, Joseph, now you got a year of consultation coming since you bought the book.
Yes. So it's all over now, because I could use this for the podcast. You know what I'm saying? I could use it for, my lesson plans at school. And that's why I was really excited, and really what I wanted the listeners to hear about. This is definitely an opportunity to then, get the book with the actual author. It's a very valuable opportunity for someone, especially nowadays when authors and everyone tweet out, all of their information and they get constant feedback from someone. You actually have the person there on the phone with you. So I definitely think that's going to build the book, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to use my support, as they say. Definitely with even the band directors that I meet here out in California, I definitely think I can spread the word with them as well. So definitely we want to go ahead.
When the 90 Degree show starts with doing the marching band season, I guess I'll be introducing. And we got Rashad Waters, Buck Private here, and
that's an inside joke. You got to know the book to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, to know what we're talking about.
I do want to put this out there. I am, as I said, I'm in the process of writing a second edition of the book, and I would like to hear from people on what chapter you like included in the second book. What other topics you'd like to, delve into, because it's the book's written to help people that are looking to improve their program. So I would rather have things in the book that people really have a question about. So I've come up with 4 new chapters so far, but I really would like to come up with about 4 or 5 more and, make a part 2 to the book and address some things that people want to address. I can tell you I'm already working on a chapter on fundraising. Lord knows all band directors need to know how to do that. On taking overnight trips. I'm going even deeper into preparing a band for competition in one of the chapters. So those are 3 chapters I'm working on right now.
That's really, really cool. And in fact, since tonight we're really, really inviting the listeners to call in, and I know a lot of band directors like Brother Shaw, like our friend of the podcast, Brother Shaw, he is actually in rehearsal tonight. So I know that there are some people but they will still be listening to this conversation. But there are a lot of you band directors that are still out there, or anyone, even the students as well. We'll go ahead and throw in that extra help that BlockBand has done to help promote the book. But if you go ahead and call in tonight and help with Dr. Davenport in helping with that second edition, we'll go ahead and send you a gift from the Marching Podcast Nail Your Store. That's something that we're definitely trying to launch and get off the ground here for this upcoming season. So you guys can check that out at marchingpodcast.spreadshirt.com. And that's the Marching Podcast Nail Your page. You can also get there from our website, themarchingpodcast.com. You'll see the Marching Podcast Nail Your tab there at the top. But there, you go ahead and see the apparel that we have in the store, and we'll go ahead and discuss with you, and we'll touch base with you, and we'll send you one of those items for free if you help with Dr. Davenport tonight. So make sure you go ahead and call in, and make sure we'll make sure you'll get that extra incentive, as they say, to help Dr. Davenport write the second edition to the book.
Hey, so I want some of that paraphernalia myself.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely, the friends of the program, we'll be sending out uniforms pretty soon. We'll be sending you. We want to send you something to wear, Dr. Davenport. When you like direct the second you go somewhere, hopefully we get a sponsor. We'll send you about $20,000 or something like that, and we'll let we'll let you wear something, and you go, "Lad, how did it work with a Macho podcast?" Same with you, Rashad. When you start going to these things, man, we start having a pen or something. We have some type of some type of team affiliation we can start working around with. So we'll definitely be having that on the rise, and then we'll be selling them at the store too, so we don't haul them for ourselves. We'll let them come in. So let me go ahead and let's get the first set of bills out the way. And what I wanted to do today, we're going to recap the previous shows, but we also have a little something new for you tonight. We actually were talking and actually sent some got some data from Dr. Davenport about a yearly proactive plan for band directors. Now, one thing that I've learned this year, and even learned from Dr. Davenport dealing with my anxiety, is having that plan of attack. And having this yearly proactive plan is something that I really enjoy reading, something that I would like to kind of get into, and something that we'll get into in depth here in a second after the commercial break. But I want to get into that. But then the rest of the podcast is, or really all of the podcast is up to everyone listening. You guys can go ahead and give a call, 718-664-6025. We'll answer your questions. And if you have a comment, you have any stories, anything, any experiences that you have listening to the previous podcast, we'd love to hear it, and you go ahead and call in. And, hey, anything to help with writing Dr. Davenport's second edition, go ahead and make sure you give a call. So we appreciate all those listening live. Again, it's been a great experience with BlockBand Music and Publishing and Dr. Kevin O. Davenport, and here with the Marching Podcast. And we're going to take these bills out the way, and then we're going to come back with the first segment of the podcast.
This is Joshua Cousin, representing Ocean of Soul, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Having an anniversary party, birthday party, or better yet, you're about to marry that special someone? Liquid Effects Photography is the perfect choice to immortalize all your most special moments. With 10 years of dependable professional service that can deliver from the conventional to the best in cutting-edge technology and creativity. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects photography. We serve the entire upper Midwest and will travel further upon request. Come check us out at liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Or call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Edge1 Productions. Visit theedge1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Need to write music and drill? Get it on the field. Outfit your band. Keep your administrator happy and still have a life. Encountering drama in the process, ain't nobody got time for that. Let BlockBand Music assist you with musical arrangements and drills to fit your band, and also the equipment, gear, and accessories to keep the visuals, music, and marching on point. Contact blockbandmusic@gmail.com and see how this worldwide minority-owned business can uplift your band.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands. This is David Thompson, owner and founder of Liquid Effects Photography, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
All right, we're back, and we're ready to kick it off here with Dr. Davenport. Again, he, excuse me, we were talking about some data, talking about looking over his, excuse me, guys, excuse me, talking over the document we have here for the yearly proactive plan for band directors. So I kind of wanted to kind of segue you into that with Dr. Davenport and get your thoughts about your plan for the actual year. And this is the actual calendar year that I'm seeing here, not as opposed to the academic year. So I'll let you go ahead and give you the floor, Dr. Davenport.
Well, I said that to you guys because I wanted to, we've been talking about through each of the episodes planning. And, what we need to understand is how to be proactive and not reactive. Too often as band directors, we can get to be very reactive. In other words, things come up on us and we react to them. And that's not the way to deal with things. We have to be proactive. We have to always be planning ahead for the next thing we have to do. For example, we got into a conversation about not having time to prepare for a winter concert because marching season ran so long, and we had a discussion on that, on the fact that you have to plan out what you're going to play for winter concert so far in advance that you are working on the music slowly further out. So when marching season is over, it's just a matter of cleaning up and polishing the music and getting ready for that winter concert. But the list I sent, and hopefully we'll find a way to post it, kind of shows my thinking through the school year.
Definitely. Yeah, if you would like to post, we'll put it on our blog, blog4.marchingpodcast.com. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, and one thing was, I wanted people to see how I thought through the year as far as organizing and planning things. You always have things that have to be done right now, but you've always got to be thinking about the next thing coming. For example, at this time of year, I have to pose the question, how many people have not ordered their equipment and uniform supplies for the fall? I mean, if you still have not done that, we're on August 10th, well, you're going to have trouble getting stuff in on time. And I've seen some programs every year, they're never prepared with everything they need for the first game. And that's because you're not being proactive. If you know all the students that are coming back from the previous year and you can estimate how many freshmen you're going to take in, you could have ordered your spats in May. Ordering your spats in May, you would have had them probably by the end of May, because that's not the high time for ordering supplies. Waiting until now to order supplies, you now have to deal with whether or not a company has that much stuff in stock. And I don't care what company it is, they run out of stock about this time of year because everybody's ordering now. So you want to get in a plan where you're ordering things well in advance, where you've already decided what music you're going to use in competition. You've already got it written. Hopefully within the first couple of weeks of your band camp, you already have it passed out. That gives you plenty of time to perfect the music before band competitions come up. And in some cases, band competitions start as early as the second or third week of September. So you've really got to hit your band camp, come out of your band camp pretty much with your competition show at least almost finished. So I think they need to see it for me to really go into detail, but stay a few steps ahead of what is going on right now. Now, if you're a band that likes to take a spring trip, now's the time to decide what your spring trip is going to be. That gives you time to raise money for that trip. That gives you some goals to shoot for and how much money you need to raise for it. And it gives you a whole lot of time for the kids to get the money in. If you're going to make them pay out their pocket, you can spread out the payments to make it less painful on the family. So always be proactive. Always be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of where you are now. You know what kind of things are going to come up from year to year. So you need to get yourself on a schedule where you're always thinking ahead.
And that's Davenport. I can really hang on. Sorry. What in the world? How they have it during my portion, right?
Always.
As the owner of BlockBand Music and Publishing, a company that provides all those things that you're talking about, we provide music and we provide drills, spats and shoes and gloves and things like that. I can completely agree with what you're saying. My company works with several other companies. We are like a broker, where we have probably about 5 or 6 different other companies that provide products and we can get them at a lower price. But those companies run out of stuff.
Right.
Either number one happens, when everybody starts ordering stuff, what they'll say is, today they'll say, yes, I've got these products, so I order 12 shoes, okay? But tomorrow or later on that day when the shoes go out to ship, all of a sudden they've only got 8 because it's been so busy that when everything settled, when the dust settled, all of a sudden they didn't have enough, and that's not really their fault. They can't keep track of it, but so fast,
right?
And so we have had situations where people will call and order certain products, and then all of a sudden we can't get them that product, or we have to, or it's on back order or something like that. Well, back order is not such a problem when you order in May.
Right.
So there are times when these companies do run out of things all year long. You never can tell because they may not have enough because people haven't been ordering them. But it's not a big deal if it's on back order and you order it in May versus, like you said, your first competition is in September and you decided to order your percussion stuff in August, and all of a sudden now we don't have 24-inch bass drum heads.
Right.
And what ends up in that situation is we may have to end up ordering it from another company just to get that one particular product that the first company didn't have, which is going to increase the shipping price.
And there's no guarantee you're going to be.
Right.
I think there's no guarantee you're going to get the same wholesale price to be able to provide it as well. Because if you have to switch to another company, that discount price that you're getting from one, you may not get with another because you're trying to get them in so fast.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I want to mention is one thing that a lot of bands have problems with is ordering auxiliary uniforms and boots and that kind of thing this time of year. My suggestion is that you actually do your tryouts in May and get the whole squad established in May, and then you have time to go out and get those uniforms made and get the boots ordered and that kind of thing. Once again, that's being proactive. getting things far enough in advance where you have a better chance of having everything you want without the stress. And we're talking about lowering stress as a band director. There's no bad of stress as you come in the day or two before your first show and everything hasn't come in yet. That's a big stress. And it's a stress that you don't need to have on you, and you can do something about changing that.
That's outstanding. Right. We actually have a call actually come in, and I really guess just to reiterate what you guys are saying, just about being proactive. That's actually really cool. Versus, you think you have stuff planned out, but then something happens. Okay, then I need to change my syllabus, or then I need to change, the way I do practice for next year. Well, like you said, if you're planning enough of time, you got, maybe this will happen. You're being proactive about those things instead of having the things happen to you to make you change it. Yeah. I think that's really, really important. We've got a caller from the 336 area code. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from tonight? Caller from the 336, are you there?
Joe, that's somebody from Greensboro. That's probably somebody from either A&T, which is where A&T is, or maybe North Carolina Central or something.
I was just saying 336. Yeah, I wonder if that is someone in North Carolina. We can't hear you, or maybe you have your phone on mute or something, but if you get a chance, we'd love to call back. Love for you to call back and hear from you. But thanks for calling, though, 718-664-6025. I hate when that happens, man. That's the thing. If we had our own studio, I could be more in control when that happens. But sometimes, man, you just don't really know about the calls that come in if we could just get through. But, again, we are looking for all of your calls tonight. Just to wrap up the total, the previous three podcasts that we talked about for the 2014 90 Degree Show Director Series podcast with Dr. Kevin O. Davenport. So I guess your next point, I guess before the caller came on, I was just going to try to reiterate that. But I guess that is, I never thought about you, Rashad, as far as when you're a business or you have some type of order coming in where something happens, you actually have to have some type of backup plan for yourself as well. So you actually have to be proactive, and just being when the band director gets the keys from the principal, you have to be proactive yourself just to help those people.
Right. And the same thing, Joe, pertains to music, even more so with music. Because what I've found a lot is that, a lot of people are all waiting until right before band camp, to get their music. And the problem is, everybody's waiting until right before band camp to get their music. And, there's we have several arrangers on staff, and we're continuously increasing that number. But still, even at our maximum capacity right now is up to 6 arrangers. We don't have 6 right now, but we've had as many as 6. Even with 6 arrangers, there's a limit to how much music we can produce at one time. And that's not just us. That's any arranger across the country. Right. Some people do a lot of the contemporary music shows, and with contemporary music shows, it's kind of the nature of the beast. If you're trying to find something that's hot right now, it's hard to do something beforehand. But if you're doing a show where you're doing a Justin Timberlake show, or you're doing a Aaliyah show, or whatever it is that you're doing, like Dr. Davenport said, you could be planning that music out back in March or April, and let your arranger know what you want to do. And you can even have that music ready for band camp, for like spring band camp, and be rehearsing it all the way through summer band camp. So by the time you get to, the actual, hey, this is August, let's get started, you're ready to rumble. That also gives your arranger the opportunity to make adjustments if necessary.
Mm-hmm. That's outstanding. So that's actually a really good point in to start with. As I see more people are joining the chat room and joining us. Again, if you have a Blog Talk Radio account and you are listening to us live, you can join our chat room and you can leave your comments there as well. We'll also give the person, I know that we said that we want to make sure the person can call in. We want to keep that we want to keep that promo deal for Marching Podcast Native for someone to call in. I know someone may be able to type their comment or type a suggestion for Dr. Davenport, but we would like for you to call in and explain, maybe give a little bit more detail behind the words with that. But again, we'll still give you credit for leaving your comments there in the chat room. So, okay, I'll give you the floor again, Dr. Davenport, as we're moving along.
Well, still in the same realm of proactive. We talked about recruiting, we talked about retention. All of these things require you to be proactive. Now, let me really say this to band directors this upcoming fall. Of course, most band directors are now entering band camp, and you're looking at your numbers, and you don't have this many of this particular instrument or that particular instrument. And I want to say this, and I don't want to sound insulting. Didn't you know you had that problem back in April? I used to go to Midwest Band Clinic and stand around with band directors, and they would say, well, I had a year, but I didn't have any French horns in my marching band, or I didn't have an oboist in my concert band, and they turn around and say, you deal with these problems, and I'd always say, I don't have those problems. Because I would look at immediately in November or December, as soon as marching band season is over, my mindset is already going to, okay, who's graduating? Mm-hmm. All right, so I got three of my four French horn players graduating. Well, I better do something about it then. I can't wait till August to see who shows up. So during the spring, I might start 6 or 8 people on French horn. Always more than I needed, because you're always going to have students that, give up on it, quit. But I'm always planning my instrumentation a semester ahead. So when I hit the fall, I don't have to then start looking at, oh boy, I don't have no third trumpets. I think my largest trumpet section has been 32. Wow. But of the 32, 12 to 14 at one point or another played clarinet. But I had time to train them to at least get them to be able to play the third trumpet part by the time the year started. So you got to always be planning ahead. This thing never stops. We know that as band, it never stops. You always got to be planning for the next step that's coming. You cannot wait. Now, like I said, you should already have your competition show in place. You should at least know what you're going to do. Your drill should already be written. You should already have the music in hand. When I was at Norcom, we did a lot of what we call core-style openers, stock arrangements of things as our drill songs in our competition show. Well, Portsmouth has one of the oldest Memorial Day parades in the country. And I would always have spring band camp 3 weeks before Memorial Day parade, and the first song that would be passed out would be that opener for the following fall. So when the students left for summer, they already knew that song. That was one already taken care of. So once again, that was being proactive. When they came back, I didn't have to worry about them learning the notes. They knew the song. I'd have to clean it up. But we've always got to be thinking ahead like that.
What's funny, you say that. I was making a joke last week. Rashad was a little slow on it, but I think a couple weeks ago, like ESPN was talking about Nick Saban was like the greatest recruiter of all time, and I think on that same week we had the recruiting show. So I was like, yeah, we got to be talking about Nick Saban. Dr. Davenport gonna school us on that. One thing that makes me think about what that clicked in my head was a couple years ago after they won. He said, I think we'll get the night off or a couple night off, and then we'll go back to work in a couple of days or something like that. Mm-hmm. That now clicks and kind of registers with me now, because he probably has a yearly proactive plan for not band directors, but for football coaches. So he's probably already said. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I guarantee that he has his scouts out looking at sophomores and freshmen in high school.
Yep. So he always, like you said, I don't have those. Like you said, I don't have those problems because he's got somebody coming in.
And that's the way band directors have to be. As I said, if you don't have a real strong feeder, you can stand around and moan and complain about the fact that you don't have a feeder, or you can go build your own feeder. And if that means teach the summer band to 5th and 6th and 7th graders to get them playing instruments, to build their fundamental skills up so that when they get to you, you know they have fundamental skills, then you do that. I mean, if you're really looking for an excellent program with the right instrumentation, you can't stand around and wait for somebody to send them to you. It just doesn't work that way anymore. You have to go out and you have to be your own recruiting system. You have to be your own feeder sometime.
Dr. Davenport, you did a great job for all the listeners who may be new today. Excuse me. Nobody ever sneezes on the air.
Bless you, man. Bless you, brother.
But for anybody who's new, if you listen to the recruiting show from last time, you definitely hear Dr. Davenport speak a lot on that technique, which for me was mind-boggling. So just if you hadn't listened to that, please make sure you listen to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, and you know, these are things that, and I've got to say this. This is, first of all, God-given wisdom to know how to go about doing that. But secondly, having older band directors around me that were willing to tell me about how to do things. A lot of people aren't in that situation, so I'm hoping that I'm serving that role right now, telling you this is the way you can fix that. I'll give you a story. I think I may have talked about this before. I had a mentor named William Gibson in Portsmouth, Virginia, that when I took over Norcom as a 22-year-old straight out of college, the first thing I did was start summer band with him. And we had the same feeder schools. So you can imagine what that was like. But every lunch period, I would sit down with him and ask him questions. I mean, he had won every competition for the previous 5 years in the area. And so I'd ask him, man, how in the world do you prepare a band to win every parade that you're in? And he would always start his answer the same way. I really shouldn't tell you this. But, and he explained, and he told me his secret. He told me that every time he went by reviewing playing, he played the same song. I said, why did you always play the same song? Because if the kids knew the song, they could now concentrate on picking their feet up and keeping their line straight. Well, wow, that makes perfect sense. So the wisdom that's been passed down to me, I'm trying to pass down. You know, I don't take credit for all the knowledge that I have. I've just been blessed to be around the right people, and I just really want to say that. But, you know, the more proactive you are, the less stress you will be under. And it's a stressful time of year in the fall, because there's always something going on. People are pulling us 8, 9, and 10 different ways. Well, you can take control of some of that by being proactive and planning things out in advance. So, you know, we come right back to that again. I hope it's okay for me to switch topics. I do want to make sure that we get this in, so I want to talk about it now. One thing that several people have mentioned to me is the band rank system. Once again, okay. I may be talking about something if you don't have the book. One thing that I formulated in my program was the military rank.
Right quick, Dr. Davenport, I want to let all the listeners know we may be jumping topics here, or, you know, we'll be following Dr. Davenport's expertise, but you are welcome to call in at any time about any comment or anything that you would like to talk about or anything. So the 2-hour show tonight, so you have that block, but anything that you would like to talk about, please don't hesitate to call or wait for us to bring that topic up. You're free to call in any time. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. And in my book, I actually explain it's a band rank system that's a reward system to use to motivate my band program. And I was asked the question of why I decided to do this. Number one, I wanted my students to be fully engaged in the entire program and not just marching band. You know, normally we'll give out awards for students that are in marching band, but there's not really anything quote unquote to gain from concert band, you know, and this what's in it for me kind of generation. I wanted to have something out there that motivated them the whole year. Secondly, I don't know if anybody ever had this. I get tired of seeing upperclassmen that think that they have a say in things just because they're upperclassmen. They're not doing anything to get better as a musician, and really not adding a whole lot to the band itself. But they think just because they're junior or senior, they can be big and bad and look down on freshmen and sophomores just because they've been in the band 3 or 4 years. Okay? I got tired of seeing that. And, you know, I would jump on them about that. That wasn't good enough for me. Mm-hmm. The third thing that led me to it was the school system put in a GPA requirement.
Wow. And
basically they said if you didn't have a 2.0, you couldn't march in a band. And, you know, we think a 2.0 would be easy.
Yeah.
But we know we have students that struggle.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I saw one band getting ready for competition, and the week before competition lost some 25 musicians the week before competition. Wasn't one of my programs, but I looked at it, I was like, well, that's a horrible thing to have to run up against. You spend all this time preparing your band to do something, and suddenly you can't do it effectively because so many of them failed out. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to go from a punishment-based system to a rewards-based system. So I came up with a band rank program where everybody comes in the band at the rank of buck private and can move as high as general. And there were requirements for each step in order to be promoted. There's a whole plan laid out for how you move, how you're promoted. That all led to accountability of the individual student. And I had to put some things in place to make them want to do this system. Because, you know, you come up with things that the standards are higher and higher. You know, you get them looking at, well, do I even want to go through this? Well, this is what I set up to motivate them to want to be involved in it. The higher ranked you were, for example, if you were at the rank of major, I didn't care if you were a freshman or sophomore or junior, you got fitted for your uniform first. We didn't get fitted according to classification. You got fitted according to rank. So sometimes there'll be a senior that got a uniform that barely fit because they had a lower rank than some sophomores and some juniors.
Oh, wow.
And after a while, they were going like, you know what, I got to get on the ball. I don't like going through this. Well, we got on the bus. Every time we went to a football game, instead of everybody running to the bus, we lined up in parade formation, and I dismissed them to go to the bus by rank. So instead of all the seniors piling to the back of the bus and being in the in crowd, the higher ranked people were able to go to the bus first and choose whatever seat they wanted to. So you had some sophomores and some juniors going to the bus before the seniors. Mm-hmm. You know, they got to sign up for rooms on overnight trips first. Matter of fact, if you got yourself through the rank of colonel or general, you got to sign up everybody that was going to be in the room with you. So you had privileges because of having rank as opposed to having classification. And an example, only twice did I ever have anybody reach the rank of general. Well, you reached the rank of general because you had to have a 3.8 GPA, cumulative GPA. You had to have 100% attendance rate at rehearsals and performances for 3 consecutive years. You had to go to all district auditions and make first chair. So there were requirements, high requirements that you had to meet in order to be promoted to that level. I saw some students make it, and others really respected them for getting to that level because it was such a rare thing. Oh, yeah, they had all kinds of respect. the higher rank you had, the more leadership opportunities you had. And they all wore military rank insignia on their uniform, so they had immediate recognition as well. You know, some of the things that happened because of that, the harassment between upperclassmen and lowerclassmen stopped. Because you have nothing to say. If you got to say you're a senior and there's a sophomore sitting there with a higher rank than you, what can you say to them?
Wow, that's deep, man. You could apply that in college. Or they could probably try it. I mean, you know.
Look, my rehearsal attendance rate was always at 98 to 100%. My performance rate was 99 to 100%. I had people coming to school with 102 and 103 degree temperature because they didn't want to miss rehearsal, because they didn't want to mess up their chance for promotion. So instead of students trying to find excuses not to come to rehearsal, they were finding reasons to get to school so they could be in rehearsal. The average GPA in the 200-piece band was a 3.4.
Wow! So you're shooting for the stars. So a lot of folks shooting for that general rank.
Yeah, and I wish you could just see them running on the day of promotion, running to the board to see who got promoted, and seeing some of those folks that normally wouldn't have cared that much about their grades going, you know what, I gotta get my grades up. I can't let so-and-so go past me.
So I gotta ask you something right quick. So you just posted the promotion day, and you posted the results like on the board, you say?
Right. We actually had each quarter, because the grades came out every quarter. There was an application that a student, if they felt like they had met all the requirements for promotion, they had to get the application and get it submitted for promotion. And I do want to say they would have to get stuff like the principal's signature on this promotions application. And the principals were on notice that if a kid had been in trouble and been to the office, don't sign it. They'd have to have their section leader's signature, the drum major's signature on this application. But they would put in the application, and then a week or two later, we would set a promotions board, which was made up of the highest-ranking students in the band. And based on the requirements that were in writing, they would decide whether a person should be promoted or not. And then we post who got promoted to a new level. Man, you would think that you know, we put up the sweepstakes list on the board, seeing them run to the board to see who got promoted. So we made a big deal out of it.
What about? So I have to ask you this, and we need to go to a commercial. We need to do a commercial break, and then we'll come back. We actually have someone in the chat room who's giving us some feedback, and also someone actually has a question for you as well. But what would you say if, let's say, you had the exact same system and you did like a ceremony thing? Would that be too much? Or
no, and let me say this: when a person was promoted, in the next band rehearsal, we called them up individually and gave them their new pins. And in our end of the year award ceremony, anybody that made the rank of general actually received a trophy that was about 24 inches high, with a gold star on the top and the school mascot in the bottom, a big trophy for achieving that rank of general. So a big deal was made out of it. You know, and you could go as far as, you know, really putting together an elaborate promotion ceremony. It would be very good. But they actually wore the same rank insignia that they wore in the military. I went out to an Army and Navy surplus store and actually bought the insignia to cut down on costs. Instead of giving them two, I gave them one. But it was something that meant a lot to them. Last thing before you go to commercial, the other privilege that they got, if we were going to a game and we had to decide between 2 or 3 concert songs or 2 or 3 dance routines, and it really didn't matter to me which one we did, we would get on the field at rehearsal on Monday, I put the whole band at parade rest, and then call everybody of the rank of captain or above into a huddle and say, okay, you got these 3 songs to choose from. Y'all decide what we're going to play this week. And they discussed it while the rest of the band was at parade rest watching it. And whatever they decided is what we played. No one else had a say in it. So you can see where the motivation comes in. Rank had its privileges.
Yeah. I want to be one of the people out there deciding,
Absolutely.
you know, oh, man, you should have did this. Man, I was thinking about... Yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely see that.
And the response would be, get some ranking. You can help decide that, too.
Right.
And there's no response to that. There's no comeback for that. Nobody can holler favoritisms because all the requirements were in writing.
I'm telling you, Joe's got the book now, and at the end of, I'm telling you, when the season starts, that boy, he's going to have me on the phone after the call ends. He's going to call me and say, Rashad, I don't think you're still in the room, in the chat room right now. What's going on? I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. This don't look good for your promotion, Rashad. I see it happening now.
Hey, man, I was just thinking about BlockBand T-shirts, BlockBand call-in special. You know what I'm saying? You directed this. You called in or something. That's something help with the promotion of, you know. But you know, it's the planning. It's the ahead of time.
Planning.
You know, it's
absolutely.
It's sitting down and putting it out, and that's something I need help with. Really, I'm really formalizing all of this and seeing that, like you said, that that's where it comes from, or like when we hear about. Like on Sports Center, or like the great coaches, or you hear about these guys are so good, or people who pay attention to the details. This is what Kevin, Dr. Davenport is talking about. This is it right here. This is what, essentially how people are putting these things together, how they're addressing their players, how they're addressing their students. It's all from that planning. Like they said on One Crazy Summer, without a plan, no attack. No attack, nope. No victory. I realize that's really important.
You've always got to be looking for ways to improve. Understand that the minute you get satisfied, one of 2 things happens. You regress or you die.
Wow.
You don't advance when you're satisfied.
Right.
Ever. So you've always got to be looking for ways to advance, to become better, to improve, to reach for greatness. We always got to be reaching for greatness. So you always got to be looking for ways to improve, and that's how the whole rank system came about. Me sitting down saying, okay, we're doing all right, but how do we make this thing better? And the students get excited when you're always trying to create something to make it better.
And when we come back, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Oh, sounds good. Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and go to this commercial break. Again, we appreciate you listening. This is the 2014 90 Degree Show Director Series with Dr. Kevin O. Davenport.
Hi, this is Chris Jones, owner and founder and creator of March Aerobics. My website is cj@marchaerobics.com. And you listen to the 90 Degree Show in the Marching Podcast Network. Now get your legs up.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Ed.S Productions. Visit theed1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Band directors, have you ever found yourselves in this situation? Showtime is quickly approaching. Your budget is quickly disappearing. Your music choices are narrowing. The equipment condition is wearing and your stress level is mounting. Stop what you're doing and contact BlockBand Music and find out how we've got you. Check www.blockbandmusic.com, providing music, equipment, gear and accessories to show style, core style, and traditional bands worldwide.
Hey, band heads, this is Christy Walker. I'm alumni of the North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine and one of the creators of thefifthquarter.com, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
All right, well, welcome back. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show and we'll give you the criteria so that we can start to pub your business using our platform. We'll play your commercial, we'll post your website on our blog, and we'll help send out your information through our social media outlets. So contact us so we can help to build your business. Okay, moving right along here. Rashad, I know that you have a question, so I want to let the person in the chat room, I want to touch base with Dr. Davenport. There's an Adrian Wright in the chat room. And first thing he said that he would like to see, like, in your next book, like a calendar talking about your plan and things that a band director should be doing. I let him know that we do have that doc and that we'll post that on our blog 4drmarchingpodcast.com. But he also wanted to let you know that he supports the idea of only practicing marching band literature after school. They usually work on technique and concert literature during class time. He wants to know what you think about teaching marching band during the school day, and what techniques or advice can be given to help encourage those students to have more pride in what they do. How do you get them to pay more attention to the small things, the details? And thanks again for being in the chat room, Adrian.
Well, let me handle the first part first. I've never been a big proponent of doing marching band music in class. There are occasions when you have to do it, when you're on the fly, when things come up, yes, you have to do it. But as we talked about in the concert band episode, most of my time in class was done with concert band literature, scales, rhythm studies, those kind of things. Because by teaching them in class, it actually speeds up marching band rehearsal. When you got a band that can read music, you pass it out at the beginning of rehearsal, 15, 20 minutes later, they're playing the music because they can read. So you're helping yourself by teaching the techniques and the rhythm reading and the scales in class. And it's a thing that you have to, once again, it takes planning to put that in place. But it can be done, and in the long run, it makes your whole program more effective because you're building musicians. So that's my philosophy on that. I was never one to do a whole lot of marching band music in class. What was the second part of that? I lost it that quick.
That's okay. To have more pride in what they're doing. Now to make
pay attention to the small things.
Let me say this: they're going to take their lead from you. One thing that I used to do is was always a part of me teaching college and high school, is if I got on the field and I was teaching a drill and I gave out a wrong instruction, I would put the whole band in parade rest and I would take a lap. Because I wanted them to see that I was sensitive to making mistakes as well, and I needed to pay attention to the detail of what I was doing. So they're going to take their lead from you as a director. You want to make sure that they understand your philosophy and vision for your band program. If you're going for greatness, you need to explain to them what greatness looks like. You need to show them what greatness looks like. It all comes from the director. A band is a direct reflection of the band director. So if you want them to pay attention to detail, you got to be them on top of them every day about paying attention to detail. If you're going to tell the band that there will be no talking in the band room, you cannot have a let up in that. You have got to have a plan to deal with it immediately when it happens. The way I would deal with it with a 200-piece band is I'd have my 3 drum majors across the front of the room, And if someone talked while I was directing, they would deal with the discipline, and I kept directing. So they would get that person up, take them outside, make a run a lap, come back in and sit back down. I never had to stop because it was my drum major's responsibility to deal with that discipline problem. So it was the detail of every single thing that happened in rehearsal. And that's where they start paying attention to detail because they realize you're sensitive to it. Okay?
Definitely. We appreciate that, Adrian. He's actually got one more. My bad, Rashad. Any advice for getting parents / the community to take more ownership and or supporting their children?
Once again, that starts with you setting your own philosophy and vision and sharing that with your parents. You need to let them know what your expectations are, and you need to let them know what the outcome will be. See, I always talk to my parents, especially new parents at the beginning, look, we're building a skill that hopefully will lead your child to be able to get some financial assistance to college. See, as a freshman, I'm already thinking that far out. And parents immediately hook onto that one. Wait a minute, he's trying to help me save money? I better listen to him.
Right.
And then I'm going to be able to explain to them exactly how that's going to work. But I'm also going to tell them, in order for us to achieve to this point, I need you to do this. The only way that's going to work is if we're all working together on this. I can tell you that with a band of 200, I actually travel, and I travel to away trips or the games. I always had 24 to 38 parents with me. I had to worry about nothing but directing my band. Everything else, the refreshments, the getting the equipment in the stadium, I never had to think about any of that. Even a step further, when we took overnight trips, my parents took shifts staying up all night on the hallway to make sure that no one got out of their rooms.
That's something you said you were going to talk about, taking your band on trips. I know you said something about that. I definitely want to talk about that. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that because, and shout out to my high school band director. There's so much you said tonight. I think about, well, not so much you said all four. It makes me think about him a lot, especially the one chapter or when we talked about actually being a band member or being a musician versus being in the band, because I was all about the band, and I'm just thinking about certain things, and he would always tell me, you need to prepare for this as far as preparing me for a musician. And I used to be like, man, what is this dude talking about, man? That's because he ain't seen Jackson State. That's what it is, man. That's why he telling me do all this whack stuff, man. But I mean, I understand. I definitely now get to understand what you're saying. So basically, I guess to wrap it up with Adrian, everything you said, definitely have that plan. But then in his last question, then tell your parents. You already got your plan in order, and you got this thing implemented. Now you're then going to mom and dad. Hey, how you doing? This is my plan. That's basically then what you're doing.
You are your own public relations. And the more passionate you are about what you do, the more passionate the people around you will be. And if your passion never lets up, if you see your vision so clearly that you're passionate about it, that you can put it into words and let people hear, and I hope when I'm talking, people can hear how passionate I am about this. The more passionate you are about what you believe, the more buy-in you get. But you have to believe what you're saying. And you got to go about doing what you say you're going to do. They have to see the results that you said they're going to see. And the more results they see, the more buy-in you get. You know, we talked before about the one thing a principal wants to be able to do is stick his chest out and raise his test scores. Those two things. Well, think about it. If you're the principal at a school where 1 out of every 3 students is in the band and the average GPA is a 3.4, or the average SAT score was a 1,200, that's before they went to this 3-part system. This one it was a 1,600 base system.
Mm-hmm.
What choice does he have? You're showing him that the band program is making the whole school look better. And it's based on the vision that you set in your band program, and it's affecting the whole school. You'll change the whole culture of the school based on the vision that you set in that band room.
That's outstanding. That's what Rashad. My bad, Rashad. I know you had something, but I really wanted to I wanted to get Adrian's stuff in there because I know he's been there all night. So you remember Rashad, man?
Putting me back down to Buck Private. I know what's going on here, man. I ain't new to this, bro. I didn't do this before.
You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues, Rashad.
I pay them every month.
That's true. You're a corporal now. You're a corporal.
Therefore, before I ask you a question, I just want to comment on Adrian real quick. I just want to give him some props because for both of you guys, I will let you know that Adrian Wright, he is the band director at Dillon High School out of Dillon, South Carolina. First of all, I was driving through there on Friday night at about 2 o'clock in the morning when my nav took me some crazy route coming from Myrtle Beach, and I definitely, Adrian, would have called you. Say, Adrian, I'm sleepy. I need a place to stay. But we made it. You know, and actually, I actually said that. So, Adrian, you were off the hook. But we made it back. But I just want to let you guys know that Adrian is on the cutting edge of things. He is on the group me with all the BlockBand customers, and he is constantly asking questions to other band directors, constantly, trying to get their opinion on different things, trying to really advance our art form. And it's just, he's really an impressive gentleman. Just real quick, he's asked, what are the advantages of high-stepping bands versus core-style bands? He has asked about, let me see here, about some of the programs that you use, like computer programs and things in order to keep your band program organized.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I'm putting it. Okay.
Yes, one called Charms, one called Music Office. So he's really cutting edge. As a matter of fact, he has one of the largest band competitions that I know of, which is the Dillon High School Marching Band Competition out of South Carolina every year that has about at least 20 bands there every year.
And I'd like to put that out there. I would love to come down and adjudicate that sometimes.
All right.
I would love to come in and adjudicate. Thank you very much.
He's also a loyal customer of BlockBand as well.
Okay.
There. But so that's Davenport. I'm actually going to, my question actually was his question. Actually, believe it or not, it was nice that he chimed in. My question was one he posted in the group me, which was about being a new band director, or perhaps being a seasoned band director, and taking your program and implementing it on your current band. And you have seniors there already, juniors and seniors there already. How do you sell them on, okay, I'm taking everybody in this band program and busting you back down to private? How do you sell that?
You don't need to do that.
Okay.
And when I originally initiated this, I did not start everybody on private. When you're in a program that, particularly if you've been there a few years already and you know your students, even if you want to waive the 98% rehearsals and 100% performances rule, you can go through your band roster and based on what you know about them, set them on the ranks that you feel that they deserve. Okay? That can be your starting place. I think the highest that I started anybody was first lieutenant, and let them work from there. So you don't bust everybody completely down, but you do take into consideration what you know of them. How active are they in concert band? You know, how are they regularly in rehearsal? And you set up the first step of it yourself. And probably the first few times that you actually do promotions, you're going to have to do yourself too, until you get enough students that are above the rank of captain to sit on promotions board. So you don't have to start everybody on freshmen. Okay? Just have a fair and consistent reason for putting people on ranks. That's the main thing. Be fair and even-handed where you put people on their ranks.
Mm.
Okay?
That one sounds really really scary. As far as how to make sure that that so and so's mom is not all upset because so and so has been in the band for 3 years before you got here, and you made this cat who's been in the band 2.5 years a section a lieutenant, and you made my son a sergeant.
Well, and if I was new to the program, if I was going in brand new, and starting as soon as I went in, I probably would start everybody at freshman. But I may do for promotions every 6 weeks, just to start to get some spread out a little quicker.
Okay.
Because basically, when you're a new band director, everybody is a freshman. Nobody knows what you're going to do tomorrow. Nobody knows your system.
Mm-hmm.
So really, everybody is a freshman in your system. So
it's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Davenport.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, again, I'm always relating sports just because, that's what I do. I was thinking about how I hear coaches all the time say it's their first year and they have like the insignia or like the logo of the team taken off their helmets. I hear that the guy Charlie Strong is doing it down in Texas, and I remember when Jim Harbaugh out in San Francisco did the same thing, but like they take the insignia off. So then you take the 49ers thing off, or you take the Longhorn thing off, and no matter you're a freshman or senior, you have to actually earn that logo again. So in a sense, that busts everyone down to a private because they then have to then earn their rank then.
Now, what I did was something similar. I made everybody wear blank white T-shirts.
Oh, even seniors?
Everyone.
Oh.
No choice. You didn't know my system. So everybody had to come in the same color shorts and a white T-shirt.
Oh.
And that first year. And it stayed that way the entire first year. The second year, they were able to either wear their white T-shirt or their marching band shirt to band practice. But incoming freshmen, what I started doing with them was taking them through a 3-step process where freshmen had to wear white T-shirts every day until they learned a certain amount, and then they got to change to a gray T-shirt.
Oh.
And then if they made it to the first game, they were then able to wear their marching band shirt. So it was, I guess you'd say, an initiation process, but it was a process that may have them earn that shirt. There was no hazing in between. It's just when you learn how to play all of your music and you can march your show, then you can wear the T-shirt. But at the beginning, everybody wore a plain white T-shirt. And I know some college bands to do that to this day, that everybody in the band wears a plain white T-shirt all year, every year.
Man, that's something. It does.
It builds unity.
You're right. It does, because I'm already thinking as an upperclassman, like, man, I had to earn this shirt, man. I ain't trying to go back to no white shirt, man, but you know what I'm saying? But it makes sense, though. For the betterment of the band, it does make sense.
And we need to teach students that you have to earn privileges. Nothing is just given to you because you are who you are or you've been somewhere long enough.
Are you born? Yeah, that's right. Right.
What have you done to earn it? And once you get it, have you done what you need to keep it?
To keep it, right.
Yeah. I mean, because, these are, and I've been blessed, man, to get letters from students. I have past students now that have doctorates that are professors at, I got a student that's a professor at A&T and head of the computer department at Norfolk State that went through this and have written me letters thanking me for the kind of discipline and system that I put them through, because they realized that was what life is really about. Nobody cares how long you've been anywhere. Nobody cares. All they care about is what are you producing and are you trying to get better. That's what they want to know. So we need to teach students that. And I know a little anecdote. I remember teaching music appreciation at Tennessee State, and had a young man that was in one of my classes. He wasn't in the band. 21 years old. Missed 3 classes, and his mama called me.
Oh.
To explain to me why her son hadn't been in class. And I had to tell her, look, if your son graduates and gets a job at IBM, are you going to call his boss then?
Yes.
And explain why he didn't come to work? Nobody wants to hear this. He needs to take responsibility for his own actions. And that's, that's a big part of what the rank system did. It made you accountable for your own promotion. What did you do to earn a promotion? And if you didn't get it, it's because you didn't do something you needed to do.
Yeah,
think about it. Every kid thought that way.
Yeah, and think about every parent, too, because thinking about my parents, I ain't telling my parents that I didn't go to class. So my mama ain't telling my band director the reason why. I ain't telling my folks that. I will never forget one day in band rehearsal, we had this rule that if you were late for band rehearsal, regardless of the reason, you ran a lap. Just didn't. I didn't want to hear a reason. I don't care if it was a good one or a bad one. If you were late, you ran. And I had a set of twins in my band. One played clarinet and one was flag carrier, and they had a dentist appointment. I knew they had a dentist appointment. So they come to rehearsal 30 minutes late, and they come up to me and say, okay, we just got back from the dentist. I said, okay, take your lap. And they stood there for a minute, but we just came from the dentist. Okay, I understand. Take your lap. Then he said, but our mom's standing right over there. Okay, get her, let her run with you. Take your lap. And the mom started laughing. She knew the rule. She knew I wasn't being unfair with them. That was the rule. Do it. I mean, some things, if that's the rule, that's the rule. That's right.
And Dr. Davenport, I agree with that wholly. We had that in Hampton as well. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what your reason for coming late was. You had to do push, period. And, that really just cuts down on all the excuses and all that type of stuff, because I remember being a band director, being on the other side of that, and trying to, when you have different excuses, well, what is legitimate and what isn't? What is a legitimate excuse ever? It was a legitimate excuse, but they took advantage of it. And that gets to be,
we had certain standard rules that everybody lived by. Number one, if you missed a rehearsal and it was unexcused, you didn't march that week. Mm-hmm. If you missed 2 rehearsals in a week for any reason, you did not go on the field that week. If you missed Friday rehearsal or Thursday rehearsal for a Friday night game, you didn't march that week. Whether it was a legitimate excuse or not, you didn't do it. That way you didn't have to try to, wade your way through all of these excuses. Right. No, this is the way it is. This is the way we're going to do things. And the students appreciated that because you didn't get into this unfairness thing. Why you let so-and-so do it, but I can't? Well, nobody can. That simple.
We have a call. Go ahead, Dr. Dab. We do have a call in the queue, but go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead and get the call. That's fine.
Okay, all right. We'll get to the call. I was going to wrap up and say you guys are talking about excuses. They are the tools of incompetence. Those who use them and bridges to nowhere. I think everyone knows that, especially every HBCU graduate, no matter where, even if you pledged or you were in the band or not, I think every person knows that. But it's definitely hearing that value. No one wants to hear the excuses, and no matter if it's excusable or not, run your lap, folks. All right.
Absolutely.
We got someone from the 804 area code. Caller, let us know your name and where you're calling from tonight. Oh, they just hung up. Someone from the 804. I know. So if you're there, 804, we'd love for you to call back. But 804, that's Virginia, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Virginia.
Yeah. That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yep. So, person from the 804,
he must have thought you were talking about him.
I know. I hope not. But yeah, we definitely love to get you a call. But go ahead, Dr. Davenport.
Let me say something, and let me give you some clues to know when you really have your band moving towards your vision. There's some assessments you can make without saying a word, okay? And I tell you these things to look for once you start initiating things right. One thing I mentioned before, and I remember Rashad brought up at the end of one of our conversations, is I would have squads show up early for rehearsal and go on the field by themselves and go through their whole show. It wasn't me asking them to do it. They just felt like they needed to get what they had to do correct. When you walk in your band room in the morning and there's 50 kids stand in the band room, but instead of just standing around talking, they're pulling instruments out and sitting down with 2 or 3 people and going over their music or working on their dance routine, you know, or marching their way through the show. Not because you told them to, but because they know that's what they needed to do. We actually got to a point where I set an honor system up. We would march through the entire halftime show, and I would tell them, look, if you made a mistake in the show, run a lap. Now, if I saw you make a mistake and you don't run a lap, I'm going to run you 4. So we would do the final kick down at the end of the show, and you see the look on their face like, did I mess up? I don't know if I did, but I better go run one anyway. You know, they were thinking their way through, did I make a mistake? They were being critical of their own things on the field. Now, going back to the first show, I talked about continuing to assess your band instead of just waiting for, you know, the results from the competition. Every day at rehearsal, and I think it was one of the 2 I talked to you about this, I gave them a score on how they performed this show every day in rehearsal. It wasn't the week of competition. Before we go to a regular football game, from Tuesday to Thursday, they got a score on how they did. They got a score in marching, a score in execution, and a score in music. And we always said by the end of the day on Tuesday, you need to make at least an 85 on your show before we leave. On Wednesday, you had to be up to at least a 90, and on Thursday, you had to be at a 95 or better. And they would ask, how do we do that time? And I'd tell them the truth. And I remember this one particular week, we were at Thursday, and they had done the show maybe 3 or 4 times, and I had corrected what I could. And about the end of the 4th time, they came to the sideline, and I gave them the scores. I said, well, you got an average of 93, but I'm going to let you go home. And they all stayed at parade rest. And I'm wondering what is going on. And one of them raised their hand and said, but you said we couldn't leave till we got a 95. And I said, well, I know I told you that, but y'all done did the show 4 times. I don't know if we're going to do it any better. You can go ahead and leave. Nobody moved. And I said, y'all going to stay here and do until you get to 95? They said, yeah. I said, well, I'm going inside. And I went inside the band room, and the drum majors took them back to the show 3 more times. And I walked back out there about 15 minutes later, realizing it was still out there practicing. And finally, when they came to time, I mean, they were sweating, they were breathing hard, because every time they would go back to the beginning, they were, you know, jumping on each other. Man, you got to get your feet up, you got to keep the line. You see the line straight right here? I mean, they were really on each other. But I had to give them a 95 just for effort. I mean, you know, they were serious about getting this thing right. And that's when you know progress has happened, when they take it upon themselves to know what the vision and the philosophy is. They want to be great, and they go to meet that standard. And that's where you want to get them, so they're self-sufficient about achieving greatness. Because what you teach them in that band room, they're going to take into every other aspect of their lives. Every aspect.
That's deep. That's deep. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I received 4 letters from students that were in the military, that were over in Saudi Arabia or Iraq, that wrote me and thanked me for what I put them through, because they learned how to focus. And, you know, when you're out there in the military in battle, if you can't focus, you're in trouble. When you can't respond instead of react, you're in trouble. you know, but that you got to know how to respond. You got to know how to, and I was talking to Rashad about this earlier, you got to know how to move when somebody says move without worrying about questioning why you need to move. Because thinking about why can get you killed. And that's real in the military.
Right.
You know, but I would teach them that from band camp, because I wanted, the better a band can respond, the shorter rehearsals are. You don't have to repeat yourself 4 and 5 times.
No. You know what's funny about that, Doctor, and we actually have someone, I'm looking in the call here, actually have someone from the 704. I know that's Charlotte. But I'm just thinking about my father marched in the band in Jackson State, and, you know, he always talked about my cousin, a lot of other my family members marched throughout the 90s and late 80s, and they just talked about, you know, oh, man, you guys are practicing so much. You know, and I remember going to band practice at 6 o'clock, and, you know, we wouldn't get out till after 12 or, you know, maybe 11, something. I remember that. And I just remember people just talking about, oh, man, you know, so many people are practicing so hard, and these bands look so good, but they're practicing so many hours. Well, that wasn't necessarily all about the actual directors or the school or the actual curriculum. A lot of that had to do with us as the upperclassmen. You know, you talked about the band times being shorter. Well, yeah, that's true. A lot of that times we was kicking it. I mean, a lot of times, man, we just having fun. I'm just thinking about times, just things we did in band rehearsal that we probably shouldn't have been doing, but it was fun, and that probably adds to when parents are saying, oh, well, you know, you guys are out practicing from 6 to 12 at night. Well, it's probably got to do a lot with, you know, the people that's in the band, because it's not the freshmen, of course, that's clowning like that. It's the upperclassmen, you know what I mean?
See, my bands kicked it like that after rehearsal was over, because my average band rehearsal went from 2:20 to 5. And at 5 o'clock, we were done. And it was because there was no downtime between the time we started and the time we ended. They knew exactly what their objectives were, and you're the teacher, you understand this. The objectives for the rehearsal were written on the board, and we followed the objectives, we accomplished the objectives, and we went home. And that's the way it was every single day. There was no room for kicking it during rehearsal, but they sure cut up after rehearsal.
Man.
I couldn't hardly get them to go home after rehearsal. But that time, every second of rehearsal time was effective work, and we were trying to get something accomplished to be better than we were the day before. And if I thought that we had a day where we weren't going to get any better, I would cancel rehearsal, and I did that several times. We're where we need to be. We won't rehearse tomorrow. And they look at me like I was. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, let's get this caller from the 704. I don't want to lose anybody else. Caller from the 704. Give us your name. Where are you calling from tonight?
My name is Natalie Beard, and I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I thought it important, Dr. Davenport, that you address the role of the parent in the engagement of students in learning to be independent. And one role I'd like you to address or speak to the audience about is how well you prepare parents from that. There are so many variations that you have now with parents, not if they've not been involved in higher education programs or they're not necessarily products of HBCUs, they've not had that same type of orientation to understand how they have to be supportive of the role that the different leadership teams have in the higher education programs. So if you could speak to a little bit about how the orientation goes with parents and things to help them understand the rules, why they're set up this way, and how you are preparing their students to be actually responsible students, but they're also to understand they're part of something greater than themselves, because everybody comes to college being the high school Val or the Sal or something to that effect, and they don't realize when they get there they meet all of the others. So their greatness now has to be addressed in a different kind of manner. So if you could speak to the sort of best practices of preparing parents for understanding things like that. Is so much more in higher ed than just the 123, 28 credit hours they complete with. It is that actual learning how to be independent. As you said, you have heard from former students and things like that, but it is important if the parent has a supportive role. They also need a little educational piece and awareness also.
Okay. Well, look, I'm waiting for you to explain it because you sound like you know. I think it's a delicate balance there for parents on the higher education level. Because on the one hand, you gotta let go, and what I mean by that is you gotta let your children be responsible for their actions, be accountable for what they do. I've seen too many times the not my child syndrome kick in. Mm-hmm. Your child didn't come to rehearsal. Not my child. They were there every day. Well, how do you know that? Oh, they told me that. Really? So you got to let them be accountable for their actions on the one hand. On the other hand, the parent has to be really responsible for, while the band director is sharing his vision for the program and beyond, the parent has to be doing that same thing in the family. What are your expectations as a parent for that child? And you got to have some. You can't let them go, on one of my friends used to joke about he was on the 10-year plan in college. And it took him 10 years to get out, too, in the same major that I got out in 4. But if a parent allows the child to think that college is one big vacation and we're going to pay for it as long as you stay in there, they take that.
Right.
Right. Parent can't always. What a band director needs to do is set that vision and philosophy, just like we talked about on the secondary level. Look, This is what we're about. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to hold you responsible for, and this is what you're going to get out of it. And as long as that's going correctly, the parents simply need to support what is happening, as long as that's what's happening. Now, I'm not saying the parents need to look another way when hazing is going on and that kind of foolishness. But as long if the child is calling home saying, I want to come home because my back hurts, because they made us march 90s and be at rehearsal on time every day, and they're mad at me because I don't know my music, the parents ought to say, well, you need to go back and learn what you need to learn. Stop calling me. And so it's a balance. But I think that parents need to be more involved on the higher education level from the standpoint of letting their student know, look, I'm watching you, I support you, but I'm not coming to your rescue when you make a mistake. Mm-hmm. And there's a balance there that has to happen. And I think college directors need to have that orientation with, just like I would do with a band parents organization on the high school level. At least that first meeting, and we always did this at Tennessee State, we had a meeting for the parents the first day. And we explained to the parents what their child was going to be responsible for, basically what they were going to go through coming into the band. We always talked about the Wednesday wall, and I don't know if y'all know anything about that. Yeah. When you have freshmen coming to a band program and you're running them from 5:45 in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night, y'all know how band practice is that first week. About Wednesday of that first week, it's hard to get up. If you're not used to it, the body hurts, the body wants you to lay there, and we warn them, that's the day that kids will call and say, I want to come home, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And we will warn them on the first day, look, expect to get that phone call, and when you get it, hang up. Mm-hmm. Make them stick this out. They will get past this like they'll get past everything else. So it's parents have got, if your child has gone to a quality college program and you buy into what the director is trying to do, you got to support that band director because he's trying to make a change in that student's life. He's trying to get them something they're going to carry long after they get out of there. And, you can disrupt what they could learn by trying to control everything that the band director's doing.
And they'll figure it out later, too. They'll figure it out, when they're in their 30s. They're like, man, I wish I would have stayed.
As the old hymn goes, you'll understand it better by and by. But nobody understood. Look, I marched through the phone, Tennessee my freshman year, and there was nobody explaining to me why I had a black bruise on my shoulder from marching 8 to 5 up and down the field for 2 or 3 hours at a time and high knee lift. And it hurt like I don't know what. Mm-hmm. Nobody at that moment was explaining that to me. But when I got through it and I endured that, I understood that I was much better prepared for the next thing that came along. Because as soon as the pain hit, I wasn't ready to run. And those are lessons that need to be learned. You didn't learn your music. You're on the sideline this week. That student calls home, I'm not on the field. The parent can't pick up the phone and call the band director, why is my child not on the field? No, ask your child why they're not on the field.
Exactly, right.
Well, I didn't learn my music. Well, what are you calling me for?
Right.
It's really got to be that kind of thing.
Right.
Because that's the only way they learn. We are producing a lot of young adults that are not prepared for life.
Correct.
Because they've been too sheltered.
Mm-hmm.
Parents can come to the rescue too much and not let child learn life lessons from other people that mean them well by being tough on them.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes a difference. He will out. The host will give a personal privilege to the understanding about their discipline and how by and by it comes to you, because he now in his 30s has a lot of understanding about how those rules and regulations are carried out.
Look, it takes a while.
And we appreciate that there from Mom from the 704 area code.
There you go.
I want to appreciate. We're trying to rush Mom off the air here now.
Oh, Mr. Barrett, is that your
example of some of the, some of the disciplinary procedures that Mr. Beard here had to go through?
Yeah, that's my mom. That's my mom, Dr. Davenport. Yeah, that's her.
Well, I already know she's a godly woman.
That's right.
I can already tell that. But see, we need more parents like that, because she's listening in on the show. You're an adult, and she's listening in to what you are accomplishing.
Right.
And that is a blessing, to have a parent that's willing to support you to the point of sitting down and listening to something that really don't make no difference to her one way or the other. But because you're doing it, she's listening.
Yeah.
And I applaud you for that.
Right, and that's the support in which you try to make sure you instill. I'm also, retired from higher education also.
There you go.
That link in there between there, I understand that. But in going through that, I had the privilege of parents who are also products of HBCUs too. So those generational kinds of things give some privileges to that, but it also makes certain responsibilities that therefore you're supposed to go out and help someone else and make sure they understand the value. And those are the questions that continue to come up or always addressed about why we still need these schools. And there becomes really the answer to those kind of questions about that.
And I say this to you, and I say this to every high school band director that's listening. We have this motto in the African-American music community, each one teach one. That's not correct. Right. Each one teach 1,000.
That's right.
That's the only thing this gets better.
That's right. That's exactly
Everybody's got to be responsible for teaching 1,000.
That's correct.
And whatever wisdom you've learned through life, you got to pass it on. Holding it in helps nobody.
Right. That's exactly right. And it works out good that way. So now, friend, you and I will talk later on, because I'll give you the list of items in which Joseph learned very well those responsibilities.
Oh, I can't wait for that conversation. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, and we are very appreciative to the attention to detail that you're giving in working through this series. This has been very interesting, the work that you've done with the series, and we do find it very interesting. So thank you very much for your support of that.
Thank you for your support.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Beard.
Wow.
Yes, thank you. Now we're time for the commercial break. We got to make sure I know, we had a commercial break, but I went ahead and threw that in there. We got another caller from the 601 area code, so we'll make sure we get that caller when we come back. But we'll go ahead and make sure we get to here, play these bills here with the 2014 Director Series podcast with Dr. Kevin O. Davenport, sponsored by BlockBand Music and Publishing and themarchingpodcast.com.
Dean Nail Katzman, CEO and publisher of Halftime Magazine, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
Need to write music and drill? Get it on the field. Outfit your band. Keep your administrator happy and still have a life. Encountering drama in the process, ain't nobody got time for that. Let BlockBand Music assist you with musical arrangements and drills to fit your band, and also the equipment, gear, and accessories to keep the visuals, music, and marching on point. Contact blockbandmusic@gmail.com and see how this worldwide minority-owned business can uplift your band.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on Bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out Bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Hey, bandheads, this is Christy Walker. I'm alumni of the North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine and one of the creators of the fifthquarter.com, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Charles Cheese Waters, proud graduate of Rusk College in Holly Springs, Mississippi, and father of the owner of BlockBand Music and Publishing. And you're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
All right, we're back, and we're ready to continue our conversation tonight. We are in the part 4 of the wrap-up here with Dr. Kevin O. Davenport, wrapping up a lot of things, a collection of great things. Our first, I'll just give you guys the title because we're in the last segment of the show. We're in the last 20 minutes or so. But we had four topics. The first topic was preparing the band for competition. The second one was concert band literature, and the third one was recruitment and retention. We went over we highlighted each point specifically through each podcast, and we're going to repost this podcast in our blog, the4.themarchingpodcast.com, just so everyone has the 4 links there for this podcast series on one page so they can get to them, and we'll reiterate the main points there on the blog. We'll also post the literature for warm-ups and other things that we talked about in the concert band literature podcast, and the podcast that we talked about tonight as far as our yearly progression plan for the band director. So all that information will be on blog4.themarchingpodcast.com. You make sure you go there and enter your email there in the top right box to follow, and follow the Marching Blogcast, and you will get a really, really cool email each time we have a blog post release, including the blog post about this show tonight. So make sure you guys go there and follow the blog for all the updates on the network and the updates about this great podcast series. We really want to extend a thank you to BlockBand Music and Publishing. Thank you very much, Rashad. for your vision. Rashad definitely had the idea. Really, this was more his baby, and really wanted to say that we could address some things to some band directors, and we could touch base with some helpful hints. And then, again, of course, thanks to Dr. Kevin O. Davenport for being the expert that we leaned on here. An outstanding book. Really excited that I'm able to support the community and letting everyone in our community touch the same dollar, so to speak, and really excited to then platform that information through what we're doing here. So thanks all the way around to everyone, and we're empowering many minds, and I really do believe in what we're doing, but I'm thankful that we have the experts like you to actually make it a reality. So, again, thank you. We have someone in the caller from the 601 area code. Caller, go ahead and give us your name and where you're calling from this evening.
My name is Joe Beard.
Oh, I just recognize the number. What's
going
on
there? Jackson, Mississippi. And I was a member of the Jackson State University marching and concert band when I was at the university. And I started calling a few minutes ago, but someone beat me to the punch, and I heard the name and the number, and I also recognized that it came from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Mrs. Beard covered much of what I wanted to talk about. Except for my experience, as Dr. Davenport mentioned about the skills and techniques that you learn when I was at Jackson State, involved in coming in, sitting down, going between 4:30 and 5. I'm sorry, 4 and 5:30. Talking about the objectives of the upcoming week's performance. Going over the music that would be played. 6:30 to 8 was field performance. So everything was a port by port, step-by-step process through which we prepared for our performances. So we were in the out on the field no more than 8:30. 8:30 was when Southern was coming to town. But we didn't spend a lot of time in the band room, on the field, because it was expected of us to be prepared. And that was one of the things that many of the band alumni spoke to this past fall during homecoming, when we were asked to share with the present band members what skills we learned during our tenure there at the university as students that we are applying now in major life. And there are so many. And we were so thankful for what the band director, Professor William W. Davis, affectionately known as Prof. Davis, what he and the assistant band directors taught us, not just musically, but also lifelong learning. And that was very, very important. And we are using those now. Now, most of us, the ones that I play with, are retired. But we did use those in our professional life. So I appreciate the show tonight. I had not planned to call in because I was having a little bit of hearing problem. But it touched on some topics that were very, very important. I thought that I would call and touch upon those, but someone beat me to the punch. But I obviously am from the same household, and those are the things we tried to drill into our son's head while he was a student. Because we did talk with the band. We talked to the band director. Joseph might not have known that. But it was not looking over his shoulders. Right. And since I played in the band at Jackson State, the band director, William Liddell, played in the band with me. So we are friends. Mm-hmm. So obviously we talk quite a bit. So But that was only just to find out what was happening on campus and how Mr. Joe Beard was performing his duties there as a student.
Now it's interesting that one of my assistant band directors when I was in college at Tennessee State was Tommy Davis, which was William Davis's son.
Wow.
Oh, you kidding?
Yeah. He was the drill instructor when I went to Tennessee State and actually taught me a lot about drill design.
And he was at Tennessee State.
Yeah.
Well, how do people Tennessee State get all these people? What's up with that, man? What's going on?
A lot of people during that period of time.
That's a whole nother question.
Well, you might remember that during that period of time, a lot of Tennessee State staff were former Jackson State staff, and one of them, you know very well, and that's the football coach.
Ed. Oh man, I can't believe it.
Oh, the current football coach now?
No.
No, he's talking about Big John Merritt.
John Merritt. That's right.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I've heard that name. That's the street that it's on, right? That's the street Tennessee State's on, right?
That's named after the legendary coach. And
a lot of people.
I think we need to understand that all of our historically black colleges and universities that way are interconnected that way.
Very much.
Because there were so few schools that we could go to. That we shared information and staff back and forth, and students, you know, it was a pride in just being a part of a HBCU. I mean, way more than it is today, because we didn't have all the opportunity, all the selections that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Correct.
that's where you went. So yeah.
I'm going to bow out now. You guys had a pretty good show tonight. I really, really enjoyed, and I know it's almost closing time. But I just want to call and share a couple of points with you that were well taken by Mrs. Beard prior to my coming on. But good show, and continue doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
All right, thanks, Dad. That's outstanding. That's Trump Funk 1962. For all y'all out there didn't want to crab a 1962 right there to my dad.
Wow, I was born that year.
Wow, yeah. That's the year he was in the best band in the land, and any fan of the show, he loves that story. I definitely hear about that story a lot. And, you know, again, you go into the support of your parents. I couldn't call home with that stuff, man. I couldn't call home with, like, I'm scared, or, you know what I'm saying, I just couldn't do it. You know, it was really funny, too, because, you know, when my dad told me that he knew Liddell and, you know, Liddell did this back in the day, I was just like, oh, my God, like, what exactly was I going to do? Well, no matter what was going on, or, you know, with there's the upperclassmen saying something to me, it really definitely forced me to, like, man, I got to deal with it because I can't call home because I already know my dad is just going to tell me whatever just so I march. And, you know, my mother went to Spelman, you know, so she was excited about me being there, but just the thought of me quitting, especially quitting the band, she wouldn't hear that. Especially, you know, them Spelman women, they think that's like extracurricular stuff. They think that's like, that ain't academic, so that's below anyway. So just think that parental support. I mean, that is really important. And it's hopefully that's maybe something a parent, we said that tonight, where maybe their kid, even in high school or something else that their child is doing, where you know, maybe I'm saving them a little bit. I maybe need to let them fall a couple times so they pick it up. It's a tough one. It is a tough one, but it's definitely necessary.
Joe, there's two more things I want to make sure I say before the show goes off.
Okay, sure.
One is I really want to get to the point where I am actually going out and being a band program consultant. So I'm available for hire to actually come out and observe band programs and then talking to the band director of how they can make their program more effective. And if anybody's interested in that service, if they check out my website at drkdavenport.wix.com/my-site, I would love to talk to them about possibly coming out and doing that for a fee. But I cannot let the show end without addressing a question that I was asked by one of the people that wrote my book, and I want to address it right here very quickly. And the question simply was, how do you spend time building your program and spending time with your family? And I just want to say that it took me years to learn the lesson that your family is the most important thing. And we have to put as much energy on excellence in our family as we do in our program. Because when all else is taken away from you, what you have left is your family. And you truly have to, if you're married and you have a family, you need to be willing to sacrifice it all for the family, because that's the most important thing you have. And that's the way God wants us to think about this thing. So I had to say that before we went off the air.
I think that's, I mean, that's underrated, you know, but I definitely think it's important. I definitely think that success can blind us all. Even it can blind people that we tell, because we get so connected with just to say, oh, they're such a great teacher, or they're such a great director. We then can forget about or not pay attention to the man or the woman or the person, you know, outside of the band room, if you will.
Don't get high on your accolades. I mean, yes, reach for great, but don't get high on the accolades, because just as quick as they'll clap for you, they'll boo against you. And you just need to keep that in mind. You do it to put as much into your students to help them with life as possible, but your family is the most important thing that you have.
I promised that I would key in on this, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that, because Dr. Davenport and I did talk about this a little bit right before the show started, which was, you know, the fact of the matter is, which one are you going to be longer? Are you going to be a band director longer, or are you going to be a husband or wife longer? Mm-hmm. You know, so as Dr. Davenport is talking about, you know, prior preparation and actually being a student of your art form, you know, but you kind of need to be a student of your relationship as well.
Absolutely.
And this is something that a lot of us, for whatever reason, we take it for granted. We assume that the other person is going to be just like us, and a myriad of other mistakes that we make. So I'm going to lay out some books real quick for people to study for their relationship as well. And I know I don't have long, but Personality Plus is a great place to start. It talks about, again, that's Personality Plus. It talks about the fact that every person has a different personality, and you have to understand how to deal with those different personality types. Another great book is His Needs, Her Needs. That book talks about the fact that men and women are different as far as the things that they need, and the things that men often feel are trivial are very important to women, and vice versa. This is the nature of a lot of problems that happen in relationships, is that you think that that particular thing is trivial and you don't understand why the other person even wants it. But it is important to them. So His Needs, Her Needs. I think the subtitle to that is How to Have an Affair-Free Marriage. The next one is called The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, yeah. I was going to mention that.
Good book. It talks about the fact that we all love differently, and the problem is that we tend to give love the way that we want to receive it, and you can't live like that. You have to live by the platinum rule, which is not doing to others as you would have them to do to you, but doing to others as they would have to have them do to you. So I just thought I wanted to throw this out. Again, it's Personality Plus, His Needs, Her Needs, The 5 Love Languages. Oh, and another one, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Women Are From Venus. I know that book.
I'm telling you, that'll fix your life right there.
Well, that's all right, man. I really appreciate that list. I know that we actually did a show on the talk show that we did a couple with my cousin about the 5 love languages. But Dr. Davenport, we have 60 seconds left, and I'd like to wrap us out the show for the podcast. So, however you would like to end the show, I turn it over to you.
I just want to say to all the band directors out there, you know, here's praying that you have a great season this year. You have a great program. Keep striving for greatness. Don't let anybody stop you from what you want to achieve. But just know that you're working for a higher purpose, and keep going and keep getting better.
Oh, we appreciate that, Dr. Davenport. We appreciate you, Rashad. We'll be on for the 90 Degree Show soon, and that's all the time we have for the show. Check out the website and donate what's in your heart to themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.